Welcome back to Area Diesel Service. So today we have another new and exciting collaborative effort with fellow YouTube content creator 73 Diamond Rio. If you're not familiar with Frank over at 73 Diamond Rio, we'll drop you a link below. Please go over there, check out his channel, check out what he's doing. He is another connoisseur of the crusty rusty, and he is one of the founding fathers of the Shmoo Fighters group. Good dude, good mechanic. He's one of the crew that's keeping some of these rusty relics out of the scrapyard. Today, as I understand it, we have an injection pump. What should be a DB4 Stanadyne injection pump off of a tow-behind air compressor. So John-Deere diesel-powered mobile air compressor. This particular unit with a 3029 John-Deere diesel engine. And like we said, it was a Stanadyne DB4 injection pump. And the story is this was an auction score, and I think it's going to be a fix it and flip it for Frank. It was described as does not run and needs fuel filter. So maybe they spelled fuel filter wrong and meant to say injection pump. But Frank did give it the once over, and it is more than just a fuel filter issue. He's got her bagged up and appropriately packaged for shipping. We're gonna open this up and do our initial observation. Actually, doesn't look too bad. This is Stanadyne DB4 327-5488. That is a DB4 style injection pump. If you've seen us get inside these before, that 4 indicating that it's a 4-roller or a 4-pumping element injection pump. The next digit 3 indicating 3 cylinders, 3 injection ports. The 27 representing 270 thousandths diameter pumping elements. And the -5488 is the bill of materials and calibration specification for this particular arrangement of goods. John-Deere part number RE502217. Initial observation, it really looks pretty good. I do see a little bit of evidence behind this cap down here on the timing device. There's an O-ring that is protruding out of the pump, so I'm not sure. Frank may have been inside that trying to get this thing unstuck. And the only other thing I see, it looks like somebody used a waffle face claw hammer to whoop on the flange there to get the pump off. But other than that, looks like it's maybe missing a nut on the grounding strap for the shutoff solenoid. Some of the tie wires have been cut, like perhaps someone has, and again, it was probably Frank, right? So we know that Frank was working on this thing, trying to get it running. I can see that the timing window, or on a DB4, more appropriately referred to as an inspection window, is loose. And since we can just screw it right off here, we're going to pop it open and have a gander. It doesn't look super terrible. Mallory has left me to my own demise here today, so I'll try and give you a close-up inside the pump. I don't know if you can see in there or not. It's not completely covered in shmoo and muck. Doesn't look too bad. We're going to get a tow tag. We're going to date it with today's date so that we know when we got it. We're going to write the customer's name on it so that we don't lose track of somebody else's parts. We're going to write a work order and transfer this back to the fuel shop. This one, you've seen so many of these Stanadyne rotary pumps at this point. I'm not sure we're going to give you the full feature. We'll definitely hit the highlights. I'm going to get the stopwatch out, and I'm going to go back there with the camera when he's ready. And we wouldn't advise it. We certainly don't do it on every pump. As we disassemble, we're looking for clues and we're checking for wear. But on this one, we're going to put him on the spot. We're going to see how quickly he can take this from as is to completely scattered and disassembled. Do me a favor, drop us a comment down below, pause the video, drop us a comment, let us know how quickly you think Corey can scatter this pump. I think he can disassemble it in 7 minutes. Let me know what you think down in the comments. We're going to write this up, transfer it back. We'll bring you along for the process and see what we get into.
Definitely not right. Yeah. I'll go get the correct O-ring for that, just so it doesn't put beads in there. This just needs tightened down. Doesn't look too terribly nasty. I mean, there's some stuff on there, but actually I could probably just do this. Once that gets tightened down, that's better. But yeah, these are your target settings. So that's an orifice screw, and then this one, there's a piston inside here with a spring. So they act on each other. This is how most 3-cylinder ones are, and 6-cylinder. If it was a 4-cylinder, then this one would be like right here. They'd both be here in the middle. Don't look too terrible.
All right, we're going to cap it up and then we're going to blast it, and then we're going to put Corey on the stopwatch, see how quickly he can scatter this thing. So we'll be back momentarily. What's going on in there? Can't see nothing.
More done by feel than anything.
All right, Corey's really feeling the pressure here because he's been planning his tools out, staging them out, and he's been studying the pump. And
I think that's most of them.
We've also added a tool to the pegboard here. We have a official stopwatch. So we are going to try and stay out of Corey's way, but we are going to try and talk some smack while he's doing this. I've given you my guess. We've asked you guys to pause it and go down in the comments. Give us your guess. Corey, what is your guess? How quickly can you scatter this pump?
Nervous. Trying to give myself some cushion here. I would say...
Have you ever been timed before?
No. Without taking any O-rings off and stuff like that, probably 12 minutes.
12 minutes, says the man. So we're not doing any inspecting. We're not doing any O-ring discarding. We're just completely disassembling, right?
Yeah, because what was his original complaint?
This was an auction buy that claimed that it ran but needed fuel filters, but he couldn't ever get it to pump any fuel. We're kind of running out of interesting ways to film rebuilding a rotary pump, so this is not trying to brag how quickly Corey can do it. This is not the way that we do it. We're just trying to mix it up a little bit. So I think Corey's got his tools staged. Are you ready?
I think I'm pretty well ready.
Are you nervous?
No, I'm the master.
He's not nervous.
I've only done a bajillion of these things, so I'm not really too concerned. Like I said, this one is a little different just because the housing's different, but it's no big deal.
Well, you're in control of the stopwatch, so whenever you've or 0-0.
There we go. Now it's working. Okay.
All right, we're live. Looks like the return connector. He's already caught himself inspecting parts.
Cold start. Try and do this without stripping any of these out.
Going after the top cover.
I think I don't need those. They don't look too bad.
Taking the solenoid out, we're going to sneak in and have a look. It is not atrocious.
No, it's not too bad. I've definitely seen a lot worse. We've done a lot worse on the channel, honestly. I can tell that it had biodiesel in it because it stinks. It stinks like biodiesel.
Solenoid, top cover.
Nope.
Throttle shaft clip. Throttle shaft.
Oh, I forgot a tool, but it'll be fine.
Oh, he's got to use a manual tool.
I'll just do it the slow way.
Judo chop with the Allen key.
It's really not that much slower, honestly. Hammer spring. Guide stud. So here's a torque screw. I'll have to pound that out later. That's technically 2 pieces. Vent screw.
Where are we at? 2.5 minutes?
Leave that there for now. Fitting. This as well.
Inlet fitting off the end cone.
Cold start valve. Light load orifice. That won't come out, that's fine. Those are the rings were right, so that's good.
Looks a little more schmooey down
it's a little
there.
crusty in there.
We're interfering here with this production.
That's good. That's servo. That O-ring in there is busted. It's a tamper-proof washer that's in these things.
Doesn't seem to prevent you from tampering.
Nope, it doesn't. So that's your orifice screw. This one has a spring and a piston behind it. So it's just an adjuster, spring, piston will come out later. Locking plate. That's not correct.
How so?
Things drove down all the way in there, and it really should just be about just under flush is where they normally are.
And is that the transfer pump pressure
Yeah, and
adjusting?
that thing actually drove down all the way because it was tight. So that's not correct.
He may have been in there. I don't know what he's...
That spring looks okay, so that's good.
That wouldn't necessarily have caused no start. That would have just been wonky governor or timing.
Well, if it made too much pressure, it could actually seize the head.
Oh, well, that doesn't sound good.
Because it barrel shapes the rotor in excess of 125 pounds of transfer pressure. This is going to be a nightmare.
Uh-oh. Somebody'd already been in this fitting and...
Trying to do this without breaking it. Oh yeah. Just needed an extra smack. I'll worry about that later. Side cover off.
Looks like we're about 6 minutes.
Yeah, this will be pretty close. Pretty close. I'm gonna have to get that thing out because I need that bit. I have to probably smack it off there.
It's almost off.
Yep.
Yeah, I loosened
Good enough.
it. I loosened it.
For sure. I didn't think that one would be too hard. See if I can get this with regular pliers. Oh yeah. This is one where I got the vice grips for. Because they can be a nightmare. So that's good. Actually don't look too bad.
Are these the ones that eat the housing up in the bore?
They can. This particular housing is almost always sleeved, just because it's an oddball, and they sleeved them completely different than the rest of them. So I wasn't really too concerned about that. But yes, there are some DB4 housings that don't have sleeves in them. Generally the older style ones. The newer ones normally are sleeved. Oh yeah. Too little. A lot of these you gotta turn that head a little bit, get this arm off. So that metering valve sits over too far. Now we can give her a little smack.
Metering valve wasn't stuck. I'm sure that Frank was in there wiggling on it.
Yeah, I mean really it hasn't been too bad. Weights. Drive shaft looks good. So this thing doesn't have very many hours on it. Because DB4s almost always eat the drive shafts. And that one there still looks basically brand new. So that's a good sign. A couple of the other parts haven't really had much wear on them either.
We're about to get to the pumping elements, right?
Yeah.
So this is probably what we think might be the issues. The pumping elements are stuck, but we're going to know in a moment.
Okay, got that. That's that piston that's down inside that head. That's the one, if you can't get that out, the head's junk. So it's a good thing that came out.
The man can't resist inspecting these parts as they come out. He's cutting into his teardown time, but curiosity killing the cat.
I was seeing if the cam was all right. Yeah.
Stuck?
No, that was just the short ones. There's 2 long ones and 2 short ones.
Not stuck?
No.
Why no worky?
They were completely free. That could be part of it.
What's that, delivery
That
valve?
delivery valve is stuck, and that has to lift in order for it to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
So if that thing is really stuck, then that could cause it to not pump any fuel. I'm really surprised that it's stuck with how
Clean the
clean
rest
it's
of it.
been. I mean, basically that's it.
Stop the watch. Where we at?
What do you think?
I said 7 minutes, so
No, I said 12.
yeah.
Well, I'm at 11 minutes. Almost exactly 11 minutes.
Shit, you're almost, yep.
So,
Came in under quota.
yeah, if I would have had the tool and I would have pulled them seals, that would have been basically right at 12 minutes. So with also tearing O-rings off, it probably would have been another 5 minutes.
Okay.
So that's fairly average.
So, if we get you some new parts, can you put it back together in 11 minutes?
Nope.
No. No such luck.
No. That is definitely not the case with that.
All right, so no absolute smoking gun. Potentially, we got a delivery valve stuck. Plungers were not stuck. The inside of the pump was not horribly.
No,
I
it's
saw
not
one
terrible.
spring that looked a little. And now that I look closer, it's not bad at all, really.
This is a delivery valve puller, so
Are we gonna see if it'll come out?
I'm going to see if it'll come out. I need my pliers. Yeah, it has a catch right there. I bet you that was probably his problem. And you can see the crowd around that and that area there and on the bottom. So I bet you that was hanging up just enough to where it wasn't popping off, basically. I don't really know how far that valve has to move in order for it to function. But I do know that it has to move some. So if that thing was stuck, then it wouldn't lift off, which then won't let anything go through your discharge ports. So,
That'll do it.
or it could have been the fact of it was just barely lifting off. So instead of making 60 cc's at cranking, it might have only been actually pushing through 15. And it might just not have been enough to start the engine.
I don't know if he was getting any smoke at all. I didn't get the full story, but
So yeah, it might have been letting some through, but not enough. It's kind of hard to say, but that's definitely an issue. The fact that has to be completely free.
all right. Well, there you go. That's as fast as Master Gracie can scatter a DB4. Looks like 11 minutes. So we are going to get out of his way. He'll get his stuff more thoroughly inspected, cleaned up, organized. We'll put you back on the tripod, and maybe we'll do a time lapse of whipping this thing back together. If we come across anything else significant, we'll let you know. If not, we'll let Corey work his magic, and then we'll run this off on a stand, and we'll meet you back at the parts counter. So stay tuned.
Okay, everyone, I got the pump back in here, got it all cleaned up. There was a couple extra parts that I had to do a little extra, give them a little extra attention, let's put it that way. Clean like his fittings up, stuff like that. Buff some parts. Put the seal in, got the housing ready. This particular housing is different, like I explained kind of a little bit in the teardown. Normally they don't have this big round boss here. And this is kind of like almost like its own sleeve in a sense. So it's really completely different than most other DB4 housings. And it has this different head locator screw in comparison to a normal one. It does still have a check ball in here, but it also has a screen on top. Same general premise, just a little bit different design. I did take the weight cage off because I felt it needed cleaned up a little better, so I blasted it and buffed it up a little bit. So that looks fine. We will just kind of get into it, and then I'll explain a couple things as I go. So we will start with the head like normal. I did clean this head up, so the rotor was ran through the sonic cleaner like normal, and I also did run a brush in there, so that way hopefully that delivery valve won't stick anymore, since we're presuming that was his problem, which we'll kind of see here. We'll stick a pick on there and see. Yeah, that slid right down, so I'm not too concerned with that. Delivery valve spring, stop, and the screw. This is very, head-wise, it's pretty similar to the last DB4 I did for CNC. This one is just a target head, which I'll explain a little bit once I get to that. The gasket kit comes with all new cushions, so I didn't have to special order those. Normally I don't replace them. It's just kind of as need basis. I was told that, so on either side of these, I don't know if we'll be able to pick it up on the camera. So there's a smooth side, and then, yeah, you can't really see them. On this side, there's two little bumps on here. I was told the bumps have to go up. Whether, honestly, I doubt it makes any difference at all, because they're just rubber cushions. So why it would matter which way they go? I will say there is a curve to them, so you should get the curve accordingly. But if you use an aftermarket kit and not a Stanadyne kit, those cushions don't normally have a curve to them, so they just kind of form themselves in there. And I think this was, so unlike a DBG, you have a flex ring that cushions the movement of the governor, and this is basically all this is doing. So also, if you were to replace your two-piece weight cage with a one-piece weight cage, these cushions would be inside them. So it's just kind of a replacement, just an updated design. So there's flat plates here, and then there's these clip plates. I don't really know what you want to call these, retainer plates. And I just broke the old ones off because new ones come in the kit. And again, it doesn't really matter which way you put these, to be honest. Luckily his plungers were not stuck whenever I tore it apart, so that wasn't an issue. And his leaf springs look good, so I'm not concerned about those. I did replace his rollers. So his original rollers were starting to get some pits in them, and I could actually feel them with my fingernail. Normally, if that's the case, I replace them because I have seen these rollers and the cam just absolutely shred themselves. So I'm kind of particular about my rollers. I buffed his head, so that looks decent. Basically right now I'm just making sure that delivery valve stop doesn't leak. It's not cooperating with me. That's trying to get these plungers to pop out. There we go. It's not the strongest, but I think this stop is going to be leaking. Huh? No, actually it looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't see any leaks, so that's good. If that delivery valve stop leaks, that could create issues, especially at cranking speed. Any four roller, basically, you have to set the centrality with this gauge. Got my gauge here. It goes against these rollers, so as I go across, it'll move that. I'm also going to be setting my roller to roller in the same process. That's where you gotta get kind of creative at times. See, I can only be so far from each individual one, and right now these two here are, more particularly this one, is too high. You can just flip these things around. Nope. Okay. If I have to, I'll change out this leaf spring.
Let's see what that does for me.
Okay, so that's not terrible. That definitely helped it. But it's still not perfect. It's still going to be off. That one was 0 and this one was 2 over. One over. Oh yeah, that might do it. 3. Okay, so that's not terrible, but we're too high. Actually, it might be able to work out about perfect. 57. We are real close. I just wanted to give it just a little bit more to the roller. That's about as far as I can go with that. That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. We're going to leave it there. Okay, so that looks good. So that's basically what I had to do there. So originally, I could only be 0.004 of a difference between my highest one and my lowest one. And before it was like, I think it was closer to 10 difference. So that's whenever I flipped that leaf spring around, it brought everything a lot tighter. It's just little tricks like that that you learn after doing, hundreds of them. Got this done. This is a clockwise pump. And just like most DB4s, there's no internal timing mark, so I didn't have to check that, set that whenever I had the weight cage off of it. Gotta put my cam on correctly because it is directioned. End cone O-ring in here. A little bit of grease on it. So now, since I'm at the target part, I will explain this. So, this is what's called a target head. Why they named it that, I don't really know. But it has this piston inside this hole, and it has an orifice screw in this other little hole here. So, what the target settings do is they reduce low speed fuel, basically for emissions. So that way, at a lower speed, below what I would consider full load, it doesn't smoke. Normally I think they bring it down like 10%-ish, but it just varies on the pump. So you have the piston, the spring. So you have the fuel limiter adjusting screw, which is this one, and then you have a adjusting orifice screw, which is this one, which basically is just a little bitty spike that drives down into a hole and it just closes it off. Some target pumps on the stand, they work really easy, and other ones you have to play with them a little bit more. The fuel adjustments on these are very, very sensitive. So it's something that, if for some reason you decide to do this yourself, it could create other issues, because I would say less than, a 1/16 of a turn, you're going to adjust the fuel quite a bit. And I believe I said it in the teardown part, but if that piston is stuck in there, then it will drastically reduce the fuel that your head makes. So that's why that has to be completely free, and that's why it has to be adjusted correctly. Otherwise, you could be low on horsepower. I just kind of preset them all the way backed out until I get to the step that I actually have to set them, because I want to make sure that my roll-to-roller fuel is actually accurate. Otherwise, it could give me what I would consider like a false reading. And I don't tighten them down too crazy right off the bat, because I'm gonna have to adjust them later. Got my retainer plates. They have to go back in the way they came out. Otherwise the transfer pump won't work. So a little retaining plate holds those together. Got a different liner here than his original one. Got some brand new blades. Got our pressure regulator here. This O-ring here basically just keeps the piston from falling out. Is really all it does. Brand new regulating piston. One thing also with the target settings is, especially your fuel adjusting screw, it is run directly from transfer pressure. So if for some reason you set that and then you have to, like if I'm on the stand and I have to adjust the transfer pressure later, then technically it's going to change that setting. So again, it's very finicky. Luckily for you guys, I'm kind of doing DB4s back to back. Well, I can't really say that because I just did a DPA video before this, but the last video that came out was a DB4, so that head is basically done now. Now we'll go ahead and put our drive shaft in. This is his original drive shaft. I didn't really see anything wrong with it, so it has very minimal wear, so I'm not concerned about that. Again, like I said, I put brand new seals in the housing. My retaining clips back in. There we go. Make sure it's all the way pushed down. Got thrust washer, thrust spring, and got my snap ring. Also, while I'm at it, double check all my holes and make sure there's no beads stuck in there. Me blasting it. Okay, that all looks good. Our governor arm in here with the pivot shaft. This pivot shaft looks good. Again, has very minimal wear. Luckily, he got kind of lucky with this pump. You know, yes, it didn't run, but it wasn't in terrible shape. It's not like it had a seized head or anything like that. It's all good now, works freely. My dot is lined up at the top. I would say one big thing about building these pumps, which of course it's hard for you guys if you don't do them regularly, but in my line of work, especially when training new people, I try to explain to them, if you do everything exactly the same every single time, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be consistent and for you to actually be able to learn how to do these better. And now it's to a point where it's dang near like a habit for me. Okay, so I slid the head in, I lined up my 2 dots, got my head bolts in. Now I'm going to work on the bottom one. Even though this head bolt is different, it still takes the same 2 O-rings. Some grease on here. Work this in. And I'll torque my end cone on. Start with our advance now. This is his original piston. I didn't really see anything wrong with it. It's got to go in the correct way. It's nice and free. Stick my cam pin back in. All that looks good. Okay. We will put that bottom plug in. Got the pump hooked up here. I have not started it yet. Figured I'd leave that for you guys. Got my lines hooked up. Transfer pressure, inlet fuel, return fuel, solenoid, advance. Basically, I'm going to start it up, make sure it pumps, and then I got to let the pump warm up to operating temperature. Once I do that, then I'll zero out my advance gauge over there. Hopefully you guys will be able to see that gauge move up and down as it operates, but we will see. Okay, I got transfer pressure, so now I'll turn on my solenoid. Heat that up a scotch. I do have the correct lines and injectors in here according to the spec. And as you can see, it didn't take that long for it to start pumping, so that's a good sign. Okay, so I'm going to let this thing run, let it get up to temperature, and then we will start going through the tests. Well, here goes nothing. We'll see how easy this thing's gonna run off. I have a feeling this thing here is gonna be bad. Transfer pressure is too high. I'll leave it right there. See what happens. Fuel delivery is about perfect. Perfect. Now we'll check my light load, preset that. So my light load was, I was basically getting too much advance at the fuel spec, so I just have to tighten down this adjuster a little bit. I was close. Yeah, see, I don't like how loose that is. So, I'm gonna go see if I can't find a new one of these. As if that adjuster is too loose, then technically it could vibrate loose, and you wouldn't want that, of course. Okay, well, we're gonna try this plug. It's a little better than the original one. Okay, so we're gonna leave the advanced there for right now. It's working. And that, I said that adjuster plug was tighter than the other one. So now I have to set my target settings. Basically, I gotta screw this one all the way in to start, and then adjust the other one to meet my fuel spec. And then I'll back that other one back out at a higher RPM. Okay, that's good enough for right now. A lot of times it's a game of back and forth with these. It's not the best by any means. I can live with that. A lot of times with your target settings, so generally you turn this one in all the way, and then you turn that one in until you get your fuel spec, and then you come back over here and back this one back out. Well, then normally you have to go up to your full load spec and then run it back down. Basically as like a consistency check, so that way you make sure that it's actually set properly. Which this one wasn't too bad, but I definitely had to tweak it a little bit. Checking the solenoid here, make sure it's working. Which it's working just fine. That shuts off good. Now we'll go down to cranking. Good transfer pressure. Oh yeah, got plenty of fuel. Plenty of fuel. Set my high idle here. So far it's working.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is bad though.
Not getting no problem?
No.
What is that?
That's your cold start. Because whenever I put power to it earlier, it didn't do anything.
Got one?
Yeah, we'll have one. It'll be the long version, but it doesn't matter. It does the same thing. My light load needs a little adjusting. Which is normal. We'll try that. Oh, good cat. Now we're in spec. We got to set our low idle. 12. That's too low. That's close. That'll work. So basically now all I got left is to check my cold start, which I believe that this thing is not working. With my preliminary check I did earlier, I don't think it will. Normally I can kind of tell. Yeah, see, whenever I hook that up, my solenoid it's not drawing any amps. Yeah, it's not working. Which, that's not necessarily unheard of for these to not work. Luckily, that's a pretty easy fix. Got me a new one. And this one here, this cold start, whenever it's activated, it gives me like an extra 7 degrees of advance. Okay. Now let's see what happens. Yeah. Turn this up. Oh yeah. Well, this pump is finally done. Fuel was fine where I had set it in the room, adjusted the high idle, adjusted the low idle. I changed out that plug to one that was tighter because like I said, that could create issues down the road. Adjusted my target settings, checked my solenoid, and then replaced my cold start solenoid because it wasn't working. So it definitely needed worked on because it had, you know, with it being a little nasty on the inside, and with it having that delivery valve stuck, that's probably why it wasn't pumping at all. And then that was obviously a bad part, and there was a couple other things. So it was definitely a good idea that he sent it in. So I'm going to get this pulled off, and then we'll go into the room and I'll air time it. And then it'll be headed back to him. So overall, it's not been too bad. It is time to head back to the room. I got this air hooked up to my #1 cylinder, and now I'm just going to move this degree wheel over to my degree that it says on my breakdown. Here's the timing mark I made here. I spun this around till it stops. That's where I make my mark. So now that would be or static timing, I guess that's what you want to call it. Basically, that's what he'll line up with his timing cover, and then he'll know that it's in time, especially since that's a keyed shaft. So it can only go on the engine one way, and then that will just line up with his timing cover, and that'll at least get him close. He still might have to tweak it a little bit, but overall, it'll be close. Well, that's basically it. I'm just gonna take my hub off and take this fitting off, but overall, I'll get it capped up and give it back to Kurt so that way we can send it on back to where it came from. I hope you guys all enjoyed this Target DB4.
We have made it to the parts counter. Another phase of the circle of life is complete, and Corey has done another fantastic job whipping this dude back into shape. We don't have to go back through everything that we did, but we'll give you the summary like we always do. We had repair kit, cold start solenoid delivery valve, which we found was stuck, piston return connector nameplate, and we also found that the transfer pump pressure regulator was cranked all the way in. So that might have been Frank in his attempt to get this thing coming back to life, or could have been amateur hour at some time before. But this pump was definitely out of calibration. And as per usual, the $1 million question. So we had 5 hours of labor at 125. That's 625 in labor. Even though Master Gracie whipped this dude down in like 10 minutes, we still had to go back and clean up all of those parts individually. Plus the parts, 598.34. You're looking at 1225 on your DB4 pump repair, plus tax, title, and license, what have you, $1,200 to get this dude whipped back into shape. If you're not familiar with Frank over at 73 Diamond Rio, please go over there and check him out and tell him that we sent you. Frank is another crusty, rusty, will it run founding father of the Shmoo Fighters Club, and he's doing some excellent content and videos over on his channel. Frank made the concert tour list. Unfortunately, since I don't know how to spell, I typed it on there wrong. So apologies to Frank. We're tearing through these shirts pretty quickly. So when we go do an update and a reprint, we'll get that fixed. But we apologize to Frank for spelling that wrong. Diamond Rio, REO, like the Speedwagon. We are now going to award Frank with the very prestigious Area Diesel Pause Button Collaboration Award for collaborating with us and giving us an opportunity to take care of his needs. This plaque is something that we have come up with and produced. It is a spoof on the highly desired and regarded YouTube 100,000 subscriber giveaway, except this one's got a little bit of redneck influence, right? It is a pause button representing that we would like you to pause our partner's video and come over and watch us repair their component. And then when you're done seeing that, go back and resume watching the video where they reinstall and fire it back up. We are kind of becoming the self-proclaimed kings of collaboration, and this plaque is intended to promote and motivate other channels to seek out and hit us up to do more of these collaborations in the future. If you see an opportunity out there with another channel, drop us a note, tag us in a comment, let them know to hit us up. But everybody should be excited to get their very own pause button. Hillbilly influence. This is cold rolled, and that was cut out by Tucker over at CNC Equipment. We're leaving that raw, and we hope that it rusts as a tribute to these machines that we're out there keeping out of the scrap bin. And then locally sourced wood, the plaque made by the local cabinet shop, the letters on a laser by one of our employees. So it's kind of a collaboration in itself, represents that do-it-yourself, can-do attitude. And we've got, I think, 30 more queued up for our future collaborations. If you haven't already seen it, we'll drop you a link, but there is a video where I went out personally and cut this tree down. We went to the cabinet shop and did some woodwork, and we've got videos of the pause button getting cut out and the letters getting made, the whole spiel. So if you want to check that video out, we'll drop you a link. Let us know what you think down in the comments about the repair or about the plaque. If you need something, we would appreciate an opportunity to earn your business. We do pride ourselves in providing a high quality customer experience along with a high quality repair or a high quality part out of the warehouse. If you need something diesel engine related, be it fuel injection, fuel injectors, turbochargers, overhaul kits, what have you, hit us up and let us know. You can call us at 800-637-2658. You can log on to our website at areadieselservice.com, where you'll find a large amount of high quality information and the ability to chat instantly with a diesel engine expert in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You can drop us an email at parts@areadiesel.com, or you can stop by any of our locations in Iowa, Illinois, or Indiana. And the first person to drop us a fax with their address and shirt size and code word Schmoo Fighter, we'll send you out your very own Schmoo Fighter shirt. And if not, you can just buy one. They're in the web store. We'll send you a link. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.